Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 6 of Social Work 668 program evaluation. This week, I am really excited that we are going to focus on logic models. So just sit tight. I am going to share my screen, and here we go for the week. Okay, so I just want to remind everybody that session 6, we are nearly halfway there. So you all have been working hard, getting your assignments in on time, staying on top of weekly course content. So thank you all for that. I just want to congratulate all of you who have accomplished one huge step in completing your needs assessment assignment. So just so you know the overview of this course, just to refresh, we have our needs assessment assignment, we have our logic model, and we have our program evaluation. So it's 3 major components. So we are going to shift in transition this week to thinking forward to our next assignment. If for whatever reason you are delayed in terms of submitting your needs assessment, I just want to encourage you to work on your needs assessment and logic model simultaneously, because this course really moves fast. There's about a 3-week gap between when your logic model is due. But in my opinion, the logic model is a lot easier because you're not going out into the community, finding people to interview, analyzing data. From here on out, the course is really just you proposing what will happen next. So I think it becomes a little more easier in terms of just stress, time management, etc. So we're now thinking forward to our logic model assignment, which is due in about 3 weeks. So what is a logic model? So logic models really help us create a roadmap to look at how we are actually creating change within the organization. So it maps all of those components out. So through our needs assessment, we've really identified a need within the organization or the community, and then B, what sort of program or we want to implement to try to fulfill or improve that need. So what we need to now understand is like how we're going to create change in this organization and what resources are needed, how we're going to input those resources, and then look at outcomes. For example, what do I hope my program increases in my participant population, and what do I hope it decreases? So all of those are important components, and we're going to lay them all out on a map, which I'm going to show you some examples in a minute. So in terms of visualization and creating a figure for this next phase of the course, I wanted to direct you to a resource from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. They have a really great program development website, and they have a bunch of logic model templates. So I want to invite you to download some of their templates and play around with them. I find that it's a lot easier because they lay out all the columns. You also don't have to fuss around with, arrows and figures and text boxes because they provide all of that for you. So just to repeat, your logic model is due session 9. This week's discussion board is to help you get started on visualizing and thinking about your next assignment. Okay, so let's define again what a logic model is. So this example is from the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control. They basically use my example of a map and think about it more as a graphic depiction that represents the shared relationships amongst various components. And the components that they lay out are resources, activities, outputs, and outcomes, and how these all work together to really impact your program and create change amongst your participant population, be that, a workforce related change or improvement in outcomes for workers, or whether or not that's your client population. It depicts the relationship between your program's activities and their intended effects. So you all in your needs assessment, the final section was where I wanted you to lay out, what does your program look like? Did you maybe pull down an evidence-based program, or did you go out into the literature and find maybe a newer program that maybe isn't evidence-based, but you think could work for the organization. Now we need to understand what the intended effects might look like. We're really predicting at this point. So it depicts the relationship between your program's activities and its intended effects, and an implicit if-then relationship among the programs. So you know it's sort of directional, you're hypothesizing, you are predicting. So amongst other things, a logic model helps clarify the boundary between what the program is doing and the so what. So the so what has to do with our outcomes. So what are you looking to increase in the community and what are you looking to decrease in the community? So this week I have linked a real life logic model that I've worked on in partnership with the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians Family Safety Program, which is really the tribe's child welfare program. We've worked on this project for about 5 years. And what the Family Safety Program really wanted was a new employee onboarding manual. And what they wanted to increase is cultural competency and increasing an understanding of historical grief and trauma that is really linked to families' involvement in the child welfare system. What they want to decrease was vicarious trauma, burnout, and high turnover rates amongst staff. So the program that they wanted to implement to try to increase and decrease those outcomes was an employee onboarding manual created by the tribe that was highly culturally competent. So one of the things that we really looked at was like, how do we measure if these entities or these outcomes are really increasing or decreasing? And so we mapped that all out through a logic model. I have linked that in this week's weekly session in Blackboard if you want to check that out, in addition to the fantastic examples that are provided by the University of Wisconsin-Madison's website too. So let's kind of define what these 4 components are. So there's many different versions of logic models. I like to keep it really simple and really focus on these 4 components. So inputs. In order to actually implement a program, we need resources. So that could be funding, that could be materials, that could be staff buy-in, that could be maybe hiring new staff, or maybe a facilitator that's knows a lot about or is well trained in the evidence-based practice. Whatever it can be, you need to list all of those in terms of inputs. In terms of activities, we need to know what the program staff is doing with those resources. So we have our resources listed. Now, what do we need to do in terms of implementing them? Outputs are the things I mentioned that are, tangible products. So for us, the tangible product was a physical onboarding manual that could be passed down to generation of child welfare workers within the tribe, but also thinking about how you're building capacity, what sort of deliverables, are you creating modules, are you creating training programs, what activities are leading to outputs. And lastly, outcomes. And this is probably what's most important to think about and really dream about in terms of pie in the sky thinking. But what changes can occur amongst people or conditions because of the activities and outputs? And I'll show you an example in a minute where we really think about, well, what are the short-term outcomes? What are the mid-size outcomes? And what are the long-term outcomes? So the example I wanted to provide for you this week is a program. So this example program aimed to reduce drinking in Buffalo County, which was a county that was identified as being at high risk for underage drinking due to ease of alcohol, access, community tolerance for underage drinking, et cetera, and also a lack of, youth development programs. So the program decided that in terms of input, so this is really related to resources, they needed to find funding, staff, research base, equipment, materials, volunteers, etc. And then they wanted to focus on outputs, and they divided the outputs into 2 lanes, which I think is really helpful. There's activities. So what does staff need to do to create the program? And then who needs to participate in the program? So public, parents, youth, schools, PTA, etc. And lastly, the author of this logic model dreams about the impact. So what could be some short-term impacts? So increased awareness of the need to reduce youth access to alcohol, increased communication about youth alcohol use amongst the community. Medium, so thinking ahead maybe 1 or 2 years, what could still change based on the implementation of this program? So they thought things like decreased supply to minors, increase of alcohol-free alternatives for young people. And then lastly, long-term. So these are the ones I want you to think about, like societal changes. So how will society, community, workforce, life really change as a result of these, maybe 10 years down the road? So social norms are less supportive of youth alcohol use. You can see that's pretty, cultural aspects of the community have changed. Decreased ease of alcohol access for youth. So things that are more long-term societal changes or workforce changes or whatever community level changes you're looking at. So looking forward to next week, week 7, that is truly considered our midterm mark. This semester has flown by. What we've really been focusing on so far in this semester is what we refer to as outcome evaluation. And I just want to tell you that for your final project in this course, the program evaluation, about 99% of my students focus on outcome evaluations. But there are 2 other kinds of program evaluation that it's really important for you to know about. One is formative and one is process evaluation. So just put a pin in it. We're going to focus on those in week 7, along with a mid-semester survey so that I can truly understand how you're doing in this course and give you some feedback. So quote of the week, just to help you motivate, is once you start believing that you truly can achieve what you want, which is a master's of science in social work, you are almost halfway there. So you truly are almost halfway there this semester. Keep up the great work and email me if you have any questions. All right, everyone, have a great week. Take care. Bye.